The Backrooms will become the next biggest horror film franchise. The horror and oddity powerhouse A24 is making one of its boldest investments yet with The Backrooms. If done right, this could mark the beginning of the greatest horror film franchise since Scream of 1996, which still continues to go on, despite sequels not being as exciting as the originals. Now let me tell you why this has so much potential. There has been an incredible amount of lore and history to this title, to this idea of the Backrooms, that spans back to only 2019. It's relatively new, but there has been so much backbone to this that a lot of young people especially, are pretty familiar with. The story goes back to 2019 with a silly little 4chan post that showcases this interesting image here of barren yellow hallways with walls that seem to go on endlessly. Now there's not very much here, but this simple image sparked curiosity in millions of people as they expanded upon this, entertaining the idea of being lost in a space completely foreign to you without any hope in sight of exit. Even worse yet, it's not simply just a bunch of empty walls spanning through eternity. There's horrifying monsters that lurk around these corners. And you know what? A lot of fans, they've built upon this. They've went further and further and developed other ideas. Backrooms aren't simply just this image here. You have other rooms with slides, with pipes all over the place, dark rooms with electrical outlets bursting, and puzzles. It's not simply just a room you're stuck in. You have to solve a puzzle to get out. And you know what's mostly exciting is there's always like an eerie sound that just ears across your ears, a humming, a buzzing, and it just kind of creates this atmosphere that really hasn't been seen in film to date. And it's perfectly highlighted by a horrifying monster that lurks around the corner. And in the games, which becomes, you know, the greater idea of these stories soon to stem just a few years later, they showcase these horrifying creatures that are each individually driven by different things. Some of them are mute, some are, you know, they have different powers, they have different abilities, they are faster than one another, they have different temperaments, and they're all different compared to the different levels they're in. There's just so much potential here, and it's such an exciting thing that led Kane Parsons at 16 years old to create just a little short on YouTube that blew up. And from that point on, his whole channel, Kane Parsons, Kane Pixels, it evolved into a channel strictly based on creating like VHS style found footage films in the Backrooms world. And it's further created excitement and interest in bringing all of these ideas of this eerie emptiness to light in a horror film. And that's what's so exciting about A24 investing in this young man to make this happen. Like I said, the story went on to produce many games. There are tons of Backrooms games that a lot of people have just kind of pitched in and made on their own, and a lot of them are really fun. I really enjoyed playing these games. They're exciting, they're interesting, and they're perfect to play with your friends. So if you're looking for a great new horror game to play and invest in, this is a great way to start. Now, in terms of horror films, you know, my second point here is it's a unique concept. This isn't an idea that we've ever seen in film before. This isn't just a slasher film or a haunted house. This is so much more than that. A lot of this plays on psychological horror. You know, it's psychological horror, it's a creature feature, and it's not necessarily a slasher, but it's a survival film. It's a survival horror film trying to escape these places, and a lot of the times it's tied to a maze. It's tied to a puzzle that somebody must unlock or figure out to escape. And that creates just an interesting, intense thrill to watch. So there's so much potential for that altogether. And each one of these levels is infinitely so interesting that they could just make a million of these movies. It's crazy. And we're going to talk about those different levels pretty soon, so just stay tuned. And then my third point is the director is Kane Parsons, Kane Pixels. You know, for people that are familiar with the Backrooms, giving this young man the keys to the kingdom here to create a film is really such a breath of fresh air. That's something I do respect about A24, is they do give talented people the keys to make the films. They're not just giving it to some incompetent filmmaker or someone that has success doing something else, or, you know, box office success in a field that's totally unrelated to horror or you know, anything similar to the topic they're tackling. This guy knows what he's doing. He's had success with this, and people have been following him and loving his work ever since. So if anybody's gonna get it right, it's probably gonna be him. So it's really exciting that he's going to be taking this on. He's only 19 years old, and he's going to be running the show here as the director. So that's pretty exciting. And you know what? He also has some great backing from real professionals within Hollywood as well. You know, the screenplay, it's written by Robert Patino and Will Sudick. They have some pretty good titles attached to them. And production comes from heavyweight producers such as James Wan, Sean Levy, Dan Cohen, Dan Levine, and Peter Chernin, across studios like A24, Atomic Monster, 21 Laps Entertainment, and Chernin Entertainment. I mean, these are big titles, and they're all attached to this kid. So if he gets this right, I mean, there's going to be so much fruit in this investment for A24. And on to my fourth point, there's so much franchise potential here. Each one of these levels are so different from one another, and if you want to just focus one film at a time in each one, I could definitely see how they could stretch it for years and years and years. Now let's talk about just a few of these levels, because each one of these are so interesting, and these are just a few, just describing them generally. If you look here, I think you're probably just going to be intrigued by what we have to see here. And, you know, level 0, this is usually where everyone starts in any of those Backrooms games. It's iconic. It's the lobby. You know, you have endless yellow hallways, you have the damp carpet, buzzing lights. It's a classic image. And, you know, playing this game, you're trying to escape, you're trying to find pieces of this ladder to get out. And it's a pretty horrifying experience. You know, you have this eerie buzzing in the background. It's scary, it's atmospheric, and there's really no other game like it. Another level, the habitable zone. It's a dark, you know, there's dark warehouses, concrete walls, machinery. It's survivable, but it's dangerous. Another level, you got pipe dreams. There's hot maintenance tunnels full of pipes and steam. It's hostile, it's suffocating, and you really don't know what lurks in the shadows behind you. You have another level, the electrical station. Tight corridors with wiring and generators. It's noisy, it's cramped, it's unsafe. Who knows what it smells like in there? And like all of these places, there's just another horrifying monster creeping. And they can do whatever they want with these. They can make them vocal, they can make them floating. They could go beyond whatever the games do, because at the end of the day, the games are cheap. This isn't anything advanced. So really, Kane Parsons, Kane Pixels, he can do whatever he wants with these. And I think he's going to take it to a light far brighter and bigger than just the game's stretch. So I guess the big question is, why now? Why should we invest in the Backrooms at this point? Well, I think people are getting kind of tired of slashers. You know, we keep getting sequels to a lot of films that are really just not as good as the originals, of course. The new Scream films are a great example of that, and a lot of people were pretty upset with the last Halloween film, Halloween Ends and Halloween Kills. So I think people are a little tired of this. They want something fresh, they want something new, and this is certainly that, because I really haven't seen anything like this in film to date, and I'm very curious to see where this goes. But I'd also like to know what you think about the Backrooms. Are you a big fan of the games? Do you think that Kane Parsons, Kane Pixels, he can pick this up and give us a big win that will lead to a giant horror film franchise? Please let me know in the comments below, and leave me a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel if you liked what I had to say today. I greatly appreciate your support. I'll see you guys next time. Thanks for watching.